Hi guys, and welcome back to another video, and it is goddamn hot. It is reaching upwards of 37 degrees over here in the UK, so yeah. But anyway, it is July. That's right, 6 months have already passed, almost 7 at this point, into the year of 2022, and I gotta admit, music this year has been at an all-time high. The stocks are up musically, even if everything else is down. And what do I mean by that? Well, back in 2020 and 2021, I'll be honest, the music I found, it was good. There was definitely some gems here and there, but there was never really a consistency of standout albums that were coming out. But I feel like in 2022, that has all changed, and we are consistently been getting amazing music every month for the last 6 to 7 months. And right now, I'm gonna talk about 5 albums that have been the standout albums thus far this year. So join me on this journey. We're gonna jump right in. So let's do this. Give this video a like if you enjoyed, and of course, subscribe to keep up to date on all the content on the channel. All right, to kick off this first one, it's gonna be a really short overview on this one because I literally just did a video about this previously, and that is Spirit Box. Recently, they put out their EP called Rotoscope. Out of nowhere, at least for me, it was a banger. It was a blast. Go check out my other video about it. I go into a lot more detail, but overall, amazing EP. Go listen to it and also go watch that video. So let's just move on to the next one. So for the second entry, this is a band I want to talk about since they dropped their album this year, but I've never had the chance to really work on a full-fledged video for it. So here it is now, and it is Obsidian by North Lane. Hopefully you are no stranger to this band. Back in 2019, they dropped probably the best metalcore slash djent album of all time called Alien, which was this amazing marriage between techno, EDM, industrial, pop, new metal, djent, and metalcore. And here with Obsidian, they push forward and they experiment even more into those aspects of their music. Granted, I'm gonna be honest, I don't think it could beat Alien, and that's not a diss at the band at all, because let's be honest, Alien was such a phenomenal album that trying to beat it would be an exercise in futility. But this new album is just as good, even if it's a little bit lower. This album, the best way I can describe this album is just straight up vibes. They pass the vibe check. You know when you watch a movie like, let's say, Drive or The Matrix or even Lord of the Rings, and you are engrossed in this world, you're engrossed in the colors and the vibe of the world. And that's what North Lane did here as well, specifically with this uber techno. I mentioned The Matrix just a second ago. That's what it literally is here. It feels like the soundtrack for The Matrix. All I can say is if The Matrix decides to make another movie, they should really hire this band to do the soundtrack for it. It is so on point to that whole aesthetic of The Matrix and simulations. And even one of the songs, it was called Cypher, has the line, "Turn me into a battery," which if you watch The Matrix, that's a whole concept that they explore in those movies. It's probably a hint to them. The color scheme as well, just the overall picture. It's an amazing album. Go check it out, North Lane.
Damn, boy, he's thick, boy!
You won't be disappointed, it's North Lane. All right, moving on, we are delving into the realm of technical death metal. And for me, this is a very hit and miss genre because there's some bands that just know how to make some of the most beautiful technical death metal out there. I'm talking about like Rivers of Nile, Beyond Creation, Beneath the Massacre, and so on. But sometimes bands can also, in the quest to be as technical and proficient on your instruments as possible, can come off as a bit of a mess.
What? It's just an ordinary crabby. Oh my goodness!
But this band, no, not this band. And this band, of course, is Exocrine from France. It's gotta be the language. It's gotta be something, because the French, all I can say is if there's one word to describe the way they write their music, it is eccentric. From Igor to Gojira, Novelist, the Dali Thundering Concept, all these bands have one thing in common, and that is they have a very unique take in how they write music. And Exocrine is no different with this new album called The Hybrid Suns, which is technical death metal for sure. That's its foundation, but they also find a way to add in more of a melodic side to it, which is a very welcoming break, because if we have consistent technical death metal, at least for me, I tend to get very, tired. I get very fatigued listening to it. So to have these really dynamic flows on all their songs is just oh, chef's kiss. And like fine wine, this band just ages so well from album to album. And I feel like with this album, they've really hit their stride, really hit their mark, and have just given us something that is a Michelin star level of quality when it comes to technical death metal. So yes, Exocrine with The Hybrid Suns. Go check it out. All right, moving into this third album. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't even know about this band and I didn't know about this album going into this video. What I did was I went on the Facebook page called deathcore/metalcore fan page, and I just asked people what were their favorite albums of the year, and over again, this one band kept popping up, and that was the band Holofront. A band I had not heard about before, but it kept popping up, so I was like, okay, I'll take the bait. Let's go check out this band. And this year they've dropped their album called The Price of Dreaming. And not gonna lie, damn, that's some good ass metalcore. For me, metalcore is a very hit and miss. Even more hit and miss than technical death metal because of one reason. And that is metalcore has the problem where it can sound generic and it can sound kind of cringy if done wrong. And going into any new metalcore band, for me, I always have these, thoughts of like, oh god, this is gonna be cringe, this is gonna be kind of lame. But no, not here. Not Holofront.
Wow, that is delicious. Finally, some good fucking food.
Because as soon as those first notes started off the album, I was immersed and I was hooked. The opening track is very quiet, very subtle, and it opens up with these very sort of lush vocals. Clearly you can tell they were very post-processed, but still, very lush vocals and going straight into this heavier section. Absolutely beautiful, and I wish there was more of that in the opening. And going through the entire album, the one thing that kept happening to me was my preconceptions of what metalcore is. Because up until this point, I found that so many metalcore bands have been sounding quite much the same, with little to no innovation in writing and composition. But here, Holofront, they've proven me wrong, and they gave me an album that is emotional, is aggressive, and even has a ballad track in it that I didn't really mind that much listening to it initially. So props to you for making me like a ballad track. I also liked the dynamic between the scream vocals and the clean vocals, because of course, in metalcore, it's very common to have clean and screamy vocals, and usually the method for doing this is your verses are consisting of all the screams, all the growls, disgusting gutturalness, and then your choruses open up, and that's where the clean guy comes in and washes away all this grittiness and has some anthemic lyrics for the crowd to, sing along to. Here they do that from time to time, but more often than not, they also do it a different way, which keeps me on my toes, keeps me listening. It was just a nice take on what metalcore can be, and it shows that it's still innovating and it's still improving upon. So Holofront, well done with their album, The Price of Dreaming. And finally, our last album, and this was a no-brainer for me. Being in the deathcore scene, this band has been growing, has been adapting, has been getting better with every album that they've put out. I mentioned fine wine before. This is what I call a proper fine wine. In fact, this is a cognac when it comes to deathcore at this point. And this is the band For Anatopsy. Legends at this point in the deathcore scene, and they have just put out the new album of What the Future Holds, which actually came out really early into the year. Once again, they killed it. Their previous album, A Sea of Tragic Beasts, was, for me, I thought a reinvention of the band a little bit, where they incorporated a lot of elements that I could only remember from the likes of Gojira. These really gnarly riffs, groovy as well, and overall a really fun listen. And I loved The Sea of Tragic Beasts. It was one of my favorite albums of that year and made my album of the year list. And here, they're gonna do it again, probably, because so far when it comes to deathcore, this is still one of the consistently best bands out there. Deathcore bands have innovated a lot since their humble beginnings. They've become more experimental, a lot more dynamic in general, and this band has done that as well. But they've done it in a way that really makes sense for them, and it means that when you listen to their entire discography, it's a really nice blend of starting off, your more generic breakdown style of deathcore all the way to what it is now, which is this huge, lush soundscape that they've incorporated. And of course, you gotta give it to my man, Will Putney, one of the best mixing engineers for this genre and hardcore as well. All the tracks on here having their own unique take, their own way of doing things. Granted, the first time I heard Far From Heaven, I generally thought they were ripping off Gojira's Another World track. But if I'm being honest, this band has clearly shown their inspiration on their sleeve with their previous album, A Sea of Tragic Beasts. And to see more of that here is, okay, fine. I'll let you have that one. But overall, it goes to the heaviness of like In Shadows, where it's uber goddamn heavy, and then it shifts to other ways of doing deathcore, such as track Two Towers, which was my favorite. It almost starts off like a Deftones track and then turns into this very melodic, almost mellow death song, which has so much variety, so much going on. The choruses are so epic. It feels like it could be a track on Lord of the Rings, which with a title called Two Towers, my first thought was straight away Lord of the Rings, and it really fits that. All the tracks, I have to say, have the same element of just amazingness that just cannot be beat. An album called Of What the Future Holds, I feel like it's a nod to the band and saying like, oh, you think this is what we sound like now? Well, you have no idea what's going to come in the future, sort of situation. So it makes it really exciting to see where this band can even go from here. But anyway, those were my 5 picks for the best albums that have come out thus far this year. Can't wait to see what the next 6 months have for us to come. But anyway, I want you to write down below what have been your favorite albums of the year thus far. Let me know what you think of the 5 albums that I've chosen. And besides that, thank you for watching. Stay hydrated, especially in this ridiculously high heat. And if you like this video, give it a like. But besides that, see you guys in the next video. Bye.